It's safe to say that Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns has ruffled the feathers of a few NBA players during his years in the league. Maybe it's because of his boyish looks, his impressive skills, or because he always fights back when people try to step to him. Whatever the reason, players throughout the NBA have learned that trash-talking Devin Booker can result in some serious embarrassment and walking out of the arena with a big L. Number 1. Booker's revenge. It's very unlikely that Devin Booker and Luka Doncic will ever invite one another to each other's barbecues. It started a couple of years ago. The Phoenix Suns were on top of the world and it seemed like they were on their way to another appearance in the NBA Finals, but then Luka and his Mavericks threw a huge monkey wrench in their plans. Against all odds, Dallas pushed Phoenix to 7 games in the Western Conference semis and blew them out in a massively embarrassing defeat that left fans in disbelief. Since then, these two players haven't been on the best terms, to put it lightly. In March of 2023, things got very heated again when an on-court argument caught the attention of all NBA fans. At the time, the Mavericks were desperately trying to make their way to the playoffs. While the Suns were doing very well, the Mavericks were not, and every single win meant a lot. As the fourth quarter wound down, Phoenix had a 2-point lead over Dallas. Leave it to Luka, who tried to make his way to the bucket after an inbound pass, hoping to score the game. But because of Phoenix's tough defense, he didn't make his shot and then immediately fouled Kevin Durant in order to pause the game. Then, seemingly without warning, Doncic beelined straight for Devin Booker and got in his face. Both players were smiling as they went forehead to forehead, but it was very clear they weren't happy. They had to be pulled away by their respective teammates and, thankfully, they didn't come to blows, but it felt like they were on the verge of an all-out fight. What was it that once again got these two so angry at one another? Like footage of Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, these final seconds of the game were watched again and again by NBA fans who quite literally read the lips of the players involved to find out what caused Booker and Doncic to go at it. Apparently, Booker felt that Doncic should have been called for a charge during his attempted two-pointer and, well, Luka didn't like that one bit. It's very clear that Booker just has the ability to get under Doncic's skin, and it can sometimes get the better of the Slovenian superstar. Following that tough loss, he told the press that he wasn't going to repeat the conversation on TV for fear of being fined, but he did urge Devin that next time he has something to say, he shouldn't wait until the last 3 seconds of the game to speak up.
Just next time, don't wait till it's 3 seconds left to talk.
Number 2. Taking out the trash. Speaking of the Mavericks, we can't go on without talking about the way that Devin Booker and a former Dallas star gave each other a very unmerry Christmas and how their bad blood continued into the new year. Christmas should be a time of caring and giving. Well, the only thing that Devin Booker and Grant Williams gave each other last Christmas was high blood pressure and potential ejections from the game. Because of the robust rivalry between the Suns and the Mavericks, the NBA thought it was wise to match them against each other on Christmas Day 2023. It was appointment television for all NBA fans, and for much of the game, it was a tight match, with the Suns just slightly ahead by 4 as the third quarter came to a close. As Kevin Durant attempted to make his way inward to the paint for a bucket, Booker and Williams ran into each other and got tangled up. It's hard to see who was really at fault at first, but it soon becomes very clear that Williams wasn't letting Booker go, even as the Suns star tried to claw his way out of his grip. Shockingly, it was none other than Luka Doncic who tried to split the two up. Both Grant and Devin received texts for the scuffle, and eventually the Mavericks would win that Christmas Day game. But Devin didn't forget, and the next time he and Grant Williams went head-to-head, he and his team gave the Mavericks star a night he'd like to forget. Just about a month later, on January 24th, the Mavs and Suns were battling it out again, and this time Williams would get into it with Kevin Durant. During the game, Durant fell on his backside after some tough defense from Williams. It wasn't a huge moment, but when Grant tried to step over KD in a sign of disrespect, he was pushed by Suns big man Jusuf Nurkic. And then, well, all hell broke loose. After things settled down, Grant and Kevin kept chirping at each other, but it seemed like any possible fight was avoided. But even though Kevin wasn't in the middle of the incident, he was definitely talking. After the game, he laid into Grant Williams, saying that all he cares about is doing the antics and not playing basketball.
Hell yeah, it's unnecessary. I don't think Grant wanted to play basketball tonight. He wants to do the antics, man. We're out there trying to hoop, so, big props to Nurk for holding that down.
Yeah,
if I would have seen it, I would have did the same thing. Yeah, that's how we get down, man. We're not with the nonsense.
Obviously, he had had enough of Williams, and this is why he responded in such a big way to the nonsense that Grant was pulling. In the third quarter of that game, Devin scored a wild 22 points, proving to Williams and the rest of the Mavericks that the Hornets' nest had been shaken. As for Williams, he had a disastrous night and only scored 8 points before being ejected later for getting his second tee. In that game, Devin Booker and his Suns exposed Williams as someone who was trying to rattle cages, but not really score a lot of points. No wonder he was traded away from the team less than a month later. So far, we've seen Devin duke it out with Luka Doncic and Grant Williams, two players who probably wouldn't apologize for their actions anytime soon. But one sharpshooting champion has actually publicly said that he regrets some of his trash talking with Booker. Number 3. Heat of the moment. Klay Thompson, 4-time NBA champion, one half of the Splash Brothers, proven trash talker. Usually, Klay can talk smack with the best of them, but during one early season game last year, Devin just forced Thompson to let his emotions get the best of him. It was only the 4th game of the 2022-23 season, but it felt like it was a Game 7. Both teams had something to prove, with the Warriors attempting to show that they still had what it took as a group of vets, and the Suns trying to tell the world that they were the team to take the West. Right from the beginning, Klay and Devin were in each other's faces. An early block from Thompson got him fired up and feeling good, and he was caught on camera spouting quite a few comments toward Booker. But here's the thing, Klay just couldn't stop. Only moments later, he was still jawing at Devin as they both stood at the other end of the court. He was obviously upset at Booker, who pretty much just let Klay hang himself by his own rope. It was wild to see Booker get under someone's skin in real time on national TV. He was hardly even saying anything, and Klay just got more and more upset, seemingly unable to keep his mouth shut. In the span of only a few minutes, Klay earned himself 2 technicals, one for talking to Booker and then another for shouting at a ref. Even though Klay was ejected from a game for the first time in his career, his anger at Devin didn't stop there. As he walked off the court, he continued to yell at him, reminding him how many championship rings he had and vowing to get his revenge. And Booker just watches it all unfold, keeping his cool and letting Thompson dig his own grave. To his credit, Klay would later say he regretted the way he acted that night, telling Paul George that the whole thing didn't age well and he didn't need to be flexing on Booker. He even said that he should be proud of Devin Booker instead of trash talking him.
You low-key a trash talker. What?
Yeah.
I know Book, you gave him the...
Yeah, I was in my feelings though. And Book was
time.
busting my ass that day. I was not where I needed to be. Yeah, I don't need to be flexing 4 rings, bro. Like everybody know that. That's on Wikipedia. My game wasn't where it was at. And we all get insecure at times. I'm man enough to admit that we all have our moments of weakness. So I'm not really proud of that one. Because I see Devin Booker and I should be like, man, I should be proud of this young man.
Yeah.
Like the work he's put in, he survived a tough regime in Phoenix. So I admire the guys who have work ethic like that, you know?
So it sounds like this feud between Klay and Devin was just a short-lived one, and there's actually respect between the two stars. What a happy ending. But before we go, we really have to touch upon just one more trash-talking misfire against Devin Booker. And this one is courtesy of perhaps the most hot-headed and controversial figure currently in the league. Yes, we're talking about Dillon Brooks. Number 4, poking the bear. At this point, we should really just make a compilation of the NBA players who Dillon Brooks hasn't trash-talked about. What do you think? Want to see a video like that? Let us know in the comments. It would make for a shorter video anyway. The man loves to state his opinions about other basketball stars, again and again, and very loudly if he can. Back in 2022, Brooks wanted to run his mouth about Devin Booker and take him down a few notches. It took Devin a long time, but he ultimately got his revenge in a big way. In December of the 2022-23 season, the Memphis Grizzlies were one of the most exciting teams in the Western Conference, alongside the Phoenix Suns. But the Suns were in a bad way at the time, and they didn't look like a team that had made it to the finals just a season before. Following a 25-point loss to the Memphis Grizzlies, Brooks allegedly told reporters that he hoped Booker would play in Memphis soon so he could guard him because he ain't scoring 50 on me. Was this bad for him because Devin actually wasn't even in the game because of an injury? Well, maybe, but that's just how Dillon Brooks rolls. But it would be a long time before Devin could have his say in the matter. As bad luck would have it, Devin was still hurt a few weeks later when the Suns and Grizzlies met again. In fact, he and Brooks didn't meet up at all for the rest of that season. And even when Brooks moved to the Rockets next season, injuries still got in the way of these two facing off because Brooks was out during the Phoenix-Houston game on December 27. But the rivalry between these two remained simmering on the back burner, waiting to overflow like a boiling pot of water. Finally, on February 23rd, Booker and Brooks were able to square off, and Devin Booker was down downright cooking during the game. It had been a long time, but Devin still had something to prove to Brooks. He scored 25 points and 5 rebounds during the match, while Brooks could only muster up 2 points and was in foul trouble for much of the night. While the Rockets ultimately won the game by 4 points, the game showed that Booker didn't forget the trash talk that Dillon leveled at him months before. For whatever reason, there are a number of NBA players who don't care for Devin Booker and love battling against him, but a number of them have learned that beneath those boyish looks and that winning smile is the heart of a devoted, die-hard warrior.